Do you guys ever just like want to hate a piece of gear? Maybe there's some sort of inherent bias against the piece of gear, the style of guitar that it is. Maybe against the brand that manufactured it. Maybe they made an advertisement that rubbed you the wrong way. Or they have super terrible business practices. Or maybe it's just that X factor. There's just something about it that you can't put your finger on it that just makes you inherently not like it. Well, today, the guitar that we're gonna take a look at definitely falls into that category for me. I wanted to hate this guitar, but I don't, and I'm gonna tell you why. Let's do it! Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take all sorts of awesome high gain related guitar equipment, I record it with a simple SM57 setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into E-stand or thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes that are recovering from a 3-day pizza bender, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! Alright guys, so as I said in that intro, today's guitar, I just didn't want to like it and my dealings with this company. So yeah, having an inherent bias against really anything is a type of thinking that I try to rail against for the most part. I'm not really into coming into something with preconceived notions and allowing any sort of preconceived notions or bias get in the way of my actual thoughts and feelings about something. And I'm not even talking about YouTube necessarily. I'm talking about in everyday life. Because if there's one thing that I really cannot stand, especially in the guitar world, but this really applies to like any sort of hobby, especially when you start to get into like the more hardcore dedicated portions of those hobbies and the community surrounding them. Well, that thing that I can't stand is brand bias, or for lack of a better term, being a brand whore. Or you may prefer the more PC term for the same thing, which is being a fanboy. Now, I personally have never been into this way of thinking. It's definitely like a groupthink thing. It is inherent to who we are as human beings. We generally tend to seek out people who think and feel the same way that we do, because there is comfort in that. Again, it's human nature to seek that out. But I also think that we can become our own worst enemies when we tend to think like that and surround ourselves with people who think the same way and don't necessarily challenge us. And this way of thinking even extends past just being biased towards like certain brands. It even comes with the territory of pricing. There are some people who won't even think twice about playing a guitar that falls under the $500 range. Hell, there are people who won't even think twice about playing a guitar that falls under the $3,000 range. And it's totally fine to have your preferences, especially if they're based on your own personal experience. But I always find that if you limit yourself to certain segments and certain categories, especially within the guitar gear world, more than likely you're gonna miss out on either A, something that is a really good value proposition, or B, a piece of gear that you might end up loving that you never thought that you would like in the first place. And I just think it's silly to kind of limit yourself and to potentially miss out on those opportunities based on a personal bias. So now that I have that stupid diatribe out of the way and I'm getting off my high horse, which I will get back on in just a moment, the guitar that we're taking a look at today is a $149 HSS Super Strat style guitar that you can buy from Amazon. And that guitar is the Fesley FST350M. As you can see, this is just a very basic, bare bones HSS style Super Strat with a poplar body, a maple neck, a maple fretboard, and bolt-on construction. It is basically as run-of-the-mill as it gets when it comes to beginner style guitars. And honestly, the branding Fesley, they probably don't even make this. It's probably another one of those companies that just buys stuff from China, throws their brand name on it, and puts it up on Amazon for resale at a slight profit. And you know, personally, I don't have a problem with that, other than the fact that you're probably not gonna get great customer service if you ever run into an issue with a guitar like this. But the great thing about buying off Amazon is if you get something that's bad right out of the box, you can just send it back for a full refund, and you don't really lose out on taking a chance and trying it. So originally, I was not planning on doing a full video on this guitar. The whole like getting the cheapest guitar off of Amazon and reviewing it has kind of been done to death in the YouTube world. I feel like at this point, it's kind of low-hanging fruit, and I'm not criticizing any other content creator who does it because there is still definitely value in these videos. I just never particularly felt like I was the right person to do those videos when there are so many other people who out there who are already doing them and doing them well. So when Fesley reached out to me and asked me if they could send me a guitar and asked me to make a video, they literally like begged me to send me the guitar and to make a video for them. So eventually I gave in and said, hey, I'll make like a short with the guitar if I don't think that it sucks. And I was going to essentially just kind of put a setup on this guitar and give it away to a younger player. And with all of that said, once I actually got the guitar and put a new set of strings on it, I found that this was way more impressive of a guitar than I had ever imagined at that $149 price point. It's got really good action. The fretwork on it seems to be decent enough. I'm not really getting like too much fret buzz in any certain areas, especially considering how low the action is. All of the electronics work as they should. Surprisingly, the bridge pickup on this guitar doesn't sound bad at all, at least not through my 5150 or 6505. And as far as like tuning stability and just overall stability, the guitar seems solid. Like I haven't really had to play around with the tuning on this too much. It does need a slight tweak to the intonation, but I honestly don't want to sink the time into it to do that. So I may have to fight the tuning just a tad on the playthrough that we're gonna get into in just a second. But overall, once you have it basically in tune, it seems to stay there. The tuners on this guitar, we've got like 6-in-line, you know, Fender Strat style tuners, and they feel better than the tuners that came on the Harley Benton guitars that I got and reviewed about a year ago, which I find rather surprising and pretty impressive. And on top of that $149 price point, oftentimes you can find coupons bringing these down to as low as $119 with free shipping. So based on the price alone, I just had to say I'm impressed with the quality of this. If you're a prospective buyer of this guitar, maybe you're a parent buying their first guitar for their kid, or you're the type of person that just likes to buy guitars and make interesting projects out of them, the bones are solid enough on this guitar that I can absolutely say, at least in my scenario with the guitar that I got, I think it is safe to do that. I think it is safe to buy one of these guitars at that low price point and either A, give it to a kid for their first guitar, or B, turn it into kind of like a cool project that you're not gonna feel bad about if you mess up in some way, shape, or form. Now, it does come with a gig bag, if that's what you want to call this. This is basically like a canvas sleeve. There is no padding in it whatsoever, but you've got shoulder straps, so I mean, if you need to transport the guitar and you want something to put it in, you at least have this, which is better than nothing. And of course, it does come with a trem arm, but they sent me this guitar, I'm not gonna lie, like a year ago, and I have absolutely no idea what I did with that trem arm. So I am not a lead player, I don't use the trem anyways, so just take that for what it's worth. Even if I had the trem arm, I wouldn't really be able to judge how good this trem system is. As far as fit and finish stuff on here, the fret ends, they are a little pokey in some areas, but they're not terrible, again, especially considering the price. And the neck profile overall on this, I would say is like a thin C type profile. It feels good. I'm not sure what the fretboard radius is on this. It feels a little flatter than something like a Fender, but it's a comfortable guitar to play. The only area where I did really notice some pretty egregious stuff is in the pickup routing, and the edges of where the pickups are routed into the guitar are pretty rough. Like, it does not look like they made any sort of effort to kind of like smooth them out, especially in like the more rounded portions of the pickup routes. So they are pretty rough, but that's really not something that you're gonna notice unless you're looking directly at it from like 1 to 2 feet away and you're looking for that type of thing. And honestly, with this guitar, I almost feel like it would be cool to slap like a one pickup pickguard over top, remove these top 2 pickups, drill a hole out for one volume, and kind of just make it like a single pickup shredder type guitar. If I were gonna turn this into a project, that's probably what I would do. And I don't know why my voice is doing this. But yeah, with all that stuff said, all that stuff out of the way, none of that matters if the guitar doesn't sound good and doesn't play well. And this is the area where I was the most pleasantly surprised with this guitar. Not only does it feel pretty good to play, which is saying a lot for a $150 guitar, but that bridge pickup really doesn't sound bad either. With all that being said, let's go ahead, let's plug this in, let's play a couple metal riffs, and let's see if this bad boy can chug. All right, guys, so I currently have the Fesley guitar hooked into what I would consider, what I have constructed to be some sort of a budget rig, and this is kind of like the cheapest tube amp that actually sounds good, the EVH 5150 Iconic. This is what, they're $1,100 new. And then up here, some of you will be delighted to see that I have a Boss Katana that was sent to me by my friends over at Zounds.com, and I just kind of thought that this was the perfect time to break this thing out and check it out, because by most accounts, this is like the best budget amplifier that you can buy. We have both of these amps going into a good old-fashioned line 6 spider valve 4x12 cab with vintage 30s in it. You can pick these guitar cabs up used anywhere from 150 to like 350 bucks. So for all intents and purposes, this is like the best budget rig that I could put together. So I kind of figured it appropriate for testing out such a low cost of entry guitar such as this. And then over on my pedal board, I will be utilizing a Joyo Vintage Overdrive, which those come in at like 30 bucks brand new, and a Behringer 7-band EQ pedal, also a $30 brand new pedal. So nothing that you guys are going to hear or see here is anything high dollar. So with that said, I'm going to turn on the 5150 Iconic. We're going into the green channel and we are gonna be boosting it with that Joyo pedal. I'm gonna play a couple of riffs and I'm gonna give you my thoughts. For real, this thing sounds absolutely fine. In fact, it sounds good, and not only does it sound good, more importantly, it plays really well and it intonates properly and it stays in tune. Dude, I'm obviously I'm at a loss for words because I can't even put sentences together. Like, for real, I am just ridiculously, incredibly impressed for what can be accomplished for $150 retail pricing when it comes to new guitars these days. I can't believe it. Yeah, this thing feels alive. I got the action nice and low on here. I could stand for it to be slightly lower, but when I did lower it more than I had it, we were getting some fret buzz that was kind of getting in the way. It was coming through the speakers. So I have it at the point right now where it's basically as low as I can get it without getting any sort of excessive fret buzz. But even still, man, like $150, I would never expect a guitar at this price point to play this well. And just to show you how confident I am and how good that this guitar sounds, I have my $4,000 Heritage sitting next to me. So I'm gonna play a riff real quick on this guitar and then I'm gonna switch to the Heritage, and I think that you'll find the differences are stunningly small. All right, guys, so I'm curious to see what you thought about the differences between the two. Leave your thoughts and your comments down below in this video. I'm genuinely curious. I want to hear what you guys heard through the microphone. But even so, like when I sit here and actually play this guitar, I don't really I'm not disappointed in how it sounds at all. Yeah, it's not super muddy. One thing I will say, the pickup is a little bit microphonic. You guys are probably picking up on some of the squeaks and squeals coming through in between notes and stuff. Another thing, right before we moved to the Boss Katana, I actually did have some sort of an electronic issue with this when I first plugged it in today. I was playing and I noticed I had to keep turning up the gain on the amp to the point where I had the gain maxed out on the amp and it was still sounding thin. I don't actually know what the issue was though, because all I did was take the back off and kind of touch the wires and it went back to being completely normal. And I was messing around trying to touch the connections and stuff and I couldn't get the problem to happen again. So I'm not 100% sure what the issue was. All right, guys, so we are now going into the Boss Katana. We are on the brown setting and we are boosting it with that same Joyo overdrive and it sounds like this. Dude, insane. Not only does the Katana sound actually surprisingly really good, but again, $150 guitar. It's staying in tune. It's playing really, really well. It feels good to play. That's something I can't stress enough. This guitar feels good to play. Alright guys, that is going to do it for me today on the Fesley FST350M or something. I don't know, whatever the dumb model number was on this thing. Great guitar if you're looking for an ultra budget upgrade platform or a first guitar for a new player or a student. What did you guys think about the tones that you heard? What do you think about the value proposition on a guitar like this? Or any other thoughts that you might have, put it down below in the comments of this video. My phone started ringing, so I got distracted halfway through that sentence. I will make sure to put a link down below in the description of this video for you guys to check this thing out on Amazon. It is currently $149.99 at the time of filming. And I'm gonna get out of here. If you guys wanna help the channel, affiliate links, as always, apply. Zounds and Sweetwater, you shop with those links. Get yourself something nice and shiny and new, and I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time.
You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.